Today's video is going to be a little bit different than the normal video. It's not going to be me making anything or making a lure, showing you how to do anything basic as far as like physically doing anything. However, it's something I would consider personally equally as important to making flies, tying flies, getting stuff put together to make baits and knots and things like that. And this is going to be actually planning whatever trip you're going on. You may not know exactly where you're going to go yet, and we'll get to that. The most important thing when it comes to planning any sort of fishing trip, first and foremost, is understanding your regulations. So if you know what state you're going to be in, where you're going to go, just go on the state's DNR or Department of Fish and Wildlife page and just look at the regs. It's not that hard. It saves you a lot of trouble. You don't want to run into any issues with law enforcement or breaking regulations. Not only is it not ethical, but it could you could permanently lose your license. So you don't want to chance that at all. The second most important thing when it comes to actually figuring out where you're going to fish and scouting is, if you know the time frame, check the weather. You don't want to be caught outside in the middle of a rainstorm, in the middle of a snowstorm, when it's going to be super cold, super hot. You just want to know what you're walking into. So if you do look at the weather, anticipate the risk, you can just plan accordingly. Don't put yourself in harm's way. But if it's going to be a little rainy, maybe bring a poncho. If it's going to be super hot, make sure you bring extra water. It's crucial. It helps you stay in the water longer, helps you stay safe, and fishing is inherently a relatively safe pastime. You don't want to add any extra risk factors to change that. Second, which arguably is the reason that I hope you came here to watch this video, is how to actually find a location where you're going to fish. So you may be going on a vacation where you're going somewhere, you don't know the water, you're going to fish, you just don't know where. That is where the e-scouting helps a lot. E-scouting is any form of looking at satellite images, looking at fishing forums such as LakeLink to see what people are catching on what. To show you how to do some e-scouting, let's go ahead and switch over to that. So now that you know where you're going to fish, you're just going to go ahead and scroll over all of the area. I mean, as you can see here, the Root River in Racine, Wisconsin, not to blow up the spot too much, but you just kind of scan over, see what you can see. You can even see who owns it. I like using OnX for this reason. You can see landowners, you can see information on this areas you're fishing. And again, I think the first thing we're going to do is figure out where we're going to park. So we're going to go find a couple parking structures. You can see here, it looks like this is marked as a fishing pier. There's some parking there. So we'll go ahead and mark that. You can actually use a waypoint, drop a waypoint, and we'll rate them later. And we'll go ahead and drop that waypoint in. And I believe you can actually pick what you want the badge to be. And I just have access for mine. I think there's a parking one too. I could be wrong. I'm going to go through and pick a couple parking spots here along the river, and don't forget you can always park on certain streets, and you can park in parking lots for other companies as long as they don't have anything posted. Just be respectful about it. Don't park during business hours. Don't take up parking that you shouldn't be parking in. That should be pretty well known. So again, we're just going to gloss over here, find our parking spots, and we'll go into the next step. And now that we have our parking spots figured out, we're going to go ahead and find spots to actually try and fish, and we'll start at the mouth of the river here. I like to just look for potential structure. On this, you can actually even see a few different things as far as marking goes, and I believe there is one for fish. We'll go ahead and use that to mark this potential structure spots where you might be able to find fish. And again, another advertisement. I don't have the top of the line subscription to this at the moment, but it might be worth it. So you're going to go ahead and mark stuff. Again, I like to mark off the points of those piers. Fish will hang out on those vertical structures. Under bridges is always a good place to look. Offers some shade during the daytime. The pilings for the bridge, usually a lot of riffraff in there. I've picked up quite a few fish fishing in these spots. Again, I'm not terribly familiar with this riverway. It's kind of the whole point of this video. It's a new spot, kind of learning along with you guys here.
and hopefully we can pick something up on this trip. And actually, I'm doing this voiceover after the fact, and I did catch one little tiny brown trout. Nothing too crazy, nothing too significant. I wasn't even recording at the time, but again, I said I'm learning how to do all this stuff, so bear with me here. We'll go ahead and mark a couple bends in the river too. The bends are usually pretty good, especially on riverways. You get some riffles, some deeper pools. Fish will hang out in there. It's where a lot of food accumulates. So, of course, you want to fish where the food is for the fish. And try to mimic the bait they're eating at. That's also a good way to kind of find them here. So we'll go ahead and mark all these spots and show you what's next. The other thing to look for when finding spots to fish and e-scouting, you're going to go ahead and look to see if there might be a hatchery or some sort of processing facility, something like that. And this actually happens to be a steelhead processing facility where they'll go ahead and put the weir up, capture steelhead, and spawn them out for the next seasons. For the Great Lakes, especially Lake Michigan, I believe it's only like 50-some-odd% of fish, or steelhead and salmon that are spawned are actually naturally occurring. The rest of them are they get some help. So that's one place to look. That's usually a good spot to just kind of verify that they're in there. So we'll go ahead and continue marking some spots. And on the next segment here, I'll show you kind of what some of these spots look like and what to look for when you actually get there. So we are at one of these spots that I had marked earlier on that map. And whenever I get to one of these spots that I'm scouting out, scouted out, I like to start by just checking to see if there's any signs of fishing activity. See if it's somewhere somebody else might fish. So right off the bat, really good sign. I see it looks to be, I would assume it's a salmon. Could be a big trout or something that either washed up there dead or somebody caught it, gutted it, and left what's left of it there. So that's a good sign that there are fish in the area. We've got, if you can see that over there, that's a container for some worms. And we'll just keep walking along these rocks, see what we see. Sometimes you can see some, of course you get your regular trash, which safe to assume it probably washed up here from just high water and stuff. Sorry for the bad camera angle here, we're just trying not to fall. You just kind of see up and down, pretty urban area. And once you get into a spot, you can just kind of look around. And it's also a good way to see if you can find any tackle lying around. You never know, you might find a lure on the ground, you might find a bobber. Always good to keep. In fact, we've actually got something right in these rocks here. Hopefully it's not too smashed up. There, you got a bobber stuck in those rocks. That's usually a good sign that people are in here. We'll grab that before we leave. Be a nice thing to have, or at the very least pick up. So let's go ahead and throw a line out here. Again, I apologize for the super shoddy camera work, the bad audio. I'll try and edit this as best I can, but that first spot didn't pan out as well as I would have hoped, but that's okay. This trip's more about call it a fact-finding mission more than anything else. We've got a new spot here. Looks like we've got plenty of cover, pretty shallow. These are always good things to look out for. You probably see down there a lot of trash, which again could be stuff that's washed up, or it could be stuff that people left behind. You've got a heron blown out too, which is always a good sign. There's something for it to eat, which means potentially there's something for me to eat down here. So we'll go ahead and give this spot a shot, see if we don't see anything too promising in here. And, again, sorry for the audio, just using headphones and trying to get everything upgraded. Just bear with me while I figure out all the kinks. But if I get anything on a line, I will fill you
Now
back.
that you've done your e-scouting, you've looked around on whether it be Onyx or even Google Maps or whatever you chose to use. The important part now is to actually figure out what species you're fishing for. And that could be as simple as going on, look at the state you're fishing in. See what fish are available. Do a little research on a fish. If you want to target a specific fish, now, that may not be your goal. Your goal might just be to catch the most fish possible in your allotted time frame. And that's perfectly fine. That's admirable. So when it comes to that, you just want to go find something like a panfish or figure out what's spawning. Just do your research. That's the biggest thing. Google's your friend in this scenario. Lake Link, all these other forums are your friend. Talk to locals. I mean, you never know what you're going to find out from talking to locals. Some people are super informative. Some people won't tell you anything. But just talk to everybody you can about the topic. It can really save you a lot of trouble, a lot of heartache, and make you more effective on the water. When it comes to actually choosing your tackle, I'm not going to go too in depth with that. I personally believe that choosing tackle is a highly personal thing. I mean, what I choose to use may not be what works for you. I might reel my lures in a certain way that works really well for a certain pattern or a certain fly or a certain spinner. You might not know how to do that. You might not have the same way you like to fish, and that's okay. That's the beauty of fishing. That is the beauty of all these different tackle, all the different colors you can use, all the different variants. Because everybody fishes a little bit different, a lure that works for somebody may not work for somebody else. And that being said, a lure that works on a Tuesday may not work on a Wednesday. Be diverse. Pack your tackle box with plenty of options. Make sure you have everything you might need. If you think you might want to bring it, just bring it. They don't weigh anything. If it fills up your tackle box, that's great. Worst case scenario, you're carrying extra lures you don't even touch. Is that a big thing? No, it's not a big deal. Now that you've done all of this, and you're e-scouting, you've checked the weather, you've checked the regulations, figure out how you want to do it. Do you want to park at an area, walk, move your car? That's fine. Do you want to walk a long loop? That's fine too. Just know what you're walking into, know where you're going to go, have a plan in place, and most importantly, have fun. Just get out in the water, try things out. If it doesn't work, try something else. At the end of the day, if you don't catch fish, at the end of the day, you've still learned something. You've learned what does work, what doesn't work. You've learned where fish might be, you learned where fish aren't. You may have also learned that the water has ice on it. You might have learned that there's no water in the summer at a certain spot, and that's okay. Adapt, have a backup plan, figure out where to go to make your time most effective. Because as we all know, you don't have all the time in the world when it comes to wanting to fish. You may only have a weekend, a month. You might only have a few hours a day. Everybody's situation is a little bit different. Make the most of your time. That's just so crucial when it comes to fishing. It's something that's supposed to be relaxing, supposed to be cathartic, supposed to be one of these things that gets you away from work and away from the humdrum of everyday life. So don't make it a big task. Don't make it a big chore. Don't stress yourself out. Try new things. Get creative. Learn something. Make the most of your time. But again, most importantly, just enjoy yourself. Have fun. Relax. Get out in the water. I hope this was informative. If it was, like and subscribe. I know this isn't the content to normally produce. I apologize for that. This is something that's been kind of on my mind a lot. I don't know what my audience looks like at the current time of posting. I do know that a handful of my subscribers are relatively new to fishing, relatively new to kind of doing stuff on their own and not being taken out by other people. So I figured this could help them, and I hope it helps you too. Again, if you want to comment, let me know what you like, what you don't like about this content. Your feedback is crucial to me. I want to start making content that you want to watch. So, like I said, let me know. Have a great day. Hope this helps you out. Catch you on the next one.